Hi everybody, welcome to Anthropology 313D. This is called Dog is My Co-Pilot, the Enduring Relationship Between Humans and Canines. My name is Tracy Lutke, I'm the professor for this course, and first and foremost I want to welcome you. I'm glad you're all along with me for the ride for the rest of this 8-week, 1 credit hour online course. This is our welcome video, and really all I'm going to accomplish in this first video that you're going to watch is to orient you to our D2L page, run you through some key points on the syllabus, and make sure that you know how to navigate the course so that you're ready to essentially hit the ground running on the first day of the semester. Like I said, this is an 8-week course, so things move quite quickly, and it's going to be important that we know where to look for things and we know what's coming, because we have a lot to get done in this brief 8 weeks. So let me start to walk you through the course, starting right here on the homepage for our course in D2L. You should all have access to this by now. And on this homepage, you'll see some pretty basic information, but still useful, an overview of the course. And more importantly, my contact information. You also will see that on the syllabus. But if you need to get in touch with me quickly, you can always look at this for my email address and for also the time of my student office hours and my Zoom links for those. So that's the homepage. Let's move on to the most important page, which is the content page. And what you'll see here is basically an outline of all the subjects and materials for the course, okay? The course is divided into weekly units. So you'll see, it's an 8-week course. We've got 8 weeks worth of material down the left-hand side here under the table of contents. And for each of those, you will find the materials that you need to do the work of that week. Right? So the first unit, which is where you are now, essentially, right? Like you're watching this welcome video. The other thing in the Start Here unit is the syllabus. I'll show you that in a few moments. And those are the two most important things to start with. Watch the welcome video and go thoroughly through the syllabus. The syllabus is a complete document. It really gives you information on everything we're going to be doing in this term, as well as a bunch of policies and other stuff. So that's also crucial. The other thing I ask you to do sort of right away or within the first few days of the semester is to introduce yourself. So in a sec, I'll show you the discussions area, and the first part of the discussions area is a space for you to introduce yourself. All right, so we're in Start Here. This is where we're beginning. And again, you'll see as the semester unfolds, each week has a subject that we're covering, right, or a theme. And it also has readings, a lecture, and often an assignment. So this week is week 1. We're going to start with some sort of theoretical approaches to studying the relationships between humans and animals more generally, and especially between humans and dogs. So at the top of this unit, I give you sort of a quick overview of sort of the sequence of things and some suggested dates for when you do things. This is an online course, so you don't have to watch the lecture on January 21 and 22. These are just kind of a suggested sequence to make sure that you get through the material in a timely way. But the main thing in terms of timing, since we are asynchronous, right, we're not going to actually meet, is just to really keep track of the due dates for assignments and make sure that you always get the assignments in on time. So, again, week 1, we're going to start with theoretical approaches to sort of multi-species theoretical models. So you'll find in there a lecture. The lectures are all recordings like this one, right? So you'll sort of see me talking, and I'll be talking you through a bunch of slides that talk about that week's subject. And then the readings, right? So for this week, we've got 3 things you're going to read. And then finally, any assignment. So for this week, you're going to be doing a discussion post, all right? So each week basically has that material. Most of the materials are already up. There are a few things that I will be kind of adding to our D2L page over the next couple of weeks. So it's not totally complete, but it's mostly complete. And you definitely have enough material to get going. Okay, so that's how the content area is organized. You'll notice that in any week where there's an assignment, I link you to that assignment right in the content area, right? So for example, for the first week, this discussion, you can just click on the discussion here, right? You don't have to go to the discussion area, but I will show you that because, there are these other tabs that if you want to, for example, see what are all the discussions, you can go to that tab and see them all in a row. So in terms of discussions for the term, like I said, the first thing I want you to do is to introduce yourself in any way you would like to. It's really open. You can say whatever you think you'd like to tell other folks about yourselves. And I did say if you want to talk about any dogs in your life, you're welcome to. Not required, of course, but since we're here, I think because we're interested in dogs, it's just a thing you can think about including in your introduction. So, like I said, these are all linked within the content area, but if you want to just take a look, you're going to be doing a total of 4 discussions. They're all related to what we're doing in particular units, and they're due sort of at the end of the week after you've completed all the readings, films, lectures for that week. Okay? So that's discussions. The next tab is assignments. Again, linked in the content area, but if you want to just take a look as an overview of what the assignments are, you're going to be doing 2 essays. Okay? Handouts are already up there. They are roughly 5-page papers, and for more details, just read the handouts. You will also be doing 2 quizzes, right? So the quizzes section is where you can find those. Those, of course, are not available yet. They will be timed quizzes that have a start time and an end time, okay? And again, linked through the content area. And then finally, you can use this class list and email tab either to contact me or to get in touch with other members of the class, okay? You can always just go ahead and email me directly using my email address that you have, again, on the syllabus, on the homepage, but this is another area to know about. And then once we get going, you will be able to also see your grades and keep a sort of running tally of where you are in the course in terms of your course average in the grades section, okay? For all assignments, I will be, meaning the essays and the quizzes, you'll get a grade with my feedback, etc., right? For the discussions, I do also give you credit for those. The main thing about discussions is thoroughly answer the question and do it on time, right? And make sure that you always respond to at least one other student's post. If you do that, you get full credit for the discussions, okay? So, again, once we get rolling, you keep track of your grades in the grade book, which is right here. Okay, let's go back to content. So I can run you through the syllabus a little bit. I like to have very complete syllabi. I think it's best to sort of err on the side of comprehensiveness. It means it's a pretty detailed document. So I'm going to show you sort of the high points, and then I do really encourage you in the next day or two, once the semester starts, to thoroughly read through the entire syllabus. Okay? You need to know everything that's in there, so it behooves you to take a look. But let's look right now at what's in the syllabus. Okay, so here we are, N313D. Top of the page, my contact info. You'll see that it's like multiple places in D2L, so that's just to try to make it easy for you to get in touch with me, and to encourage you to do so, right? Since we're online especially, you know, we don't have like a regular meeting time when we get to see each other. So what that means is if you have questions, you want to talk to me, you want to sort through something, please don't hesitate to get in touch, okay? We can email about stuff. You can come to my student office hours, which you can either come in person on Monday afternoons or on Zoom on Tuesday afternoons. You can also Zoom on Monday, right? Like I'll be in the office, but I'll also have Zoom open. We can also make an appointment. So if you can't make my standing hours, please just shoot me an email and we'll find a time, okay? So it's important, I think, to know that you can always get in touch with me, since you won't have that sort of thing you have in a face-to-face class where you can just sort of, you know, have a conversation on the fly before or after class, okay? So don't be shy about getting in touch. I'm here to help. All right, so still on page 1 of our syllabus, some sort of intro stuff, course description, course objectives. I'm not going to go through them now, but read them as you go through the syllabus more thoroughly. Our assignments, which I've already mentioned, right? Here's a summary of all those assignments. 4 discussions, 2 quizzes, 2 essays. Okay? Then we get into the weekly schedule, right? I've already suggested the very first things I'd like you to do are to watch the welcome video, which theoretically you're doing right now, since this is where we are. Read that syllabus, which we're starting to look through, but I want you to be sort of more thorough than I'm going to be right now, and introduce yourself, right? Again, we're unfortunately in some ways not going to meet each other in person, so the introductions on the discussion page are sort of the best way we have to get to know each other a little bit, all right? And then, again, following that content area that I already showed you in D2L, here's the syllabus giving you all the details about everything we're going to be doing every week, okay? So like I said, week 1, we're really thinking about theory here. This is a course about dogs, and there's a lot of different ways to think about how we should sort of imagine what a dog is, right? Beyond the purely kind of, biological. And to think about the relationships between people and dogs, which is a lot of what this course is about, right? So we're going to dig into some of the ways that cultural anthropologists in particular have tried to theorize those relationships between people and dogs and people and animals more generally, right? So there's an approach, for example, that some anthropologists call a multi-species approach or multi-species ethnography, which is sort of a different way of thinking about social science, right? We typically think of social sciences, like cultural anthropology, as studying people, right? Which they mostly have. But these readings you're going to work on this week are suggesting that we might need to expand our vision of what it means to study people. Because the fact of the matter is that people's lives are intertwined with the lives of non-humans, right? Maybe especially including animals like dogs, which is the first human domesticated animal, right? With the longest time depth of being in these sort of close relationships with humans, right? But you could extend multi-species ethnography to all kinds of other non-human entities, right? So we're starting to think then about some less obvious ways to analyze the intersection of dogs' lives and humans' lives. Okay, so that's what we're really working on in this first week. You'll have a video lecture, right? And you'll read 3 pieces. At the end of the week, you're going to do a discussion, all right? Week 2, we're going to move on to the archaeology of dogs, essentially. And you'll see obviously more information about this in the videos, but if cultural anthropologists are really doing a kind of social analysis of dog-human relationships, archaeologists have sort of dug up the remains of proto-dogs, right? And some amounts of evidence to kind of start to suggest what the transition from wolves to dogs looked like and what the relationship was between those animals and humans, right? How exactly were wolves and humans and then dogs and humans interacting? What role did the wolves and the humans play in that process of domestication? I'll cut to the chase, even though you guys haven't read this yet, and say there aren't really clear answers about exactly what happened, right? There's a bunch of evidence, there's a bunch of sort of theories about it, and you'll read some of those. We don't know exactly how wolves became dogs and sort of who took the initiative. That's one of the most interesting questions. Did the humans, this was 15,000 plus years ago, right? Did humans sort of make a point of trying to attract and domesticate what were then wolves because they saw value in them as, for example, say hunting partners? Or did the wolves kind of cozy up to the humans because near their encampments they could get food scraps, they could get near warm fire, right? Or is it some combination of the two? So those are the kinds of things that you'll be reading about in this second week, all right? The sort of dog origins and the archaeology and what it contributes, all right? So similar to the first week, you're going to watch a lecture. There is a little brief video that I'm going to have you watch, a little film. You're going to read 3 things, and you're going to do a discussion, all right? When we get into to week 3, we get into what I think is one of the more interesting units. I mean, I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I'm interested in all the different ways that people in various places and times conceptualize things in the world and conceptualize their own interactions, whether it's with people or other animals or whatever else. So in week 3, we're going to really look at dogs cross-culturally, meaning looking at examples from different places in the world of how people relate to dogs, right? And how people in different cultural contexts think about even like what a dog is. Is a dog a a totally different kind of entity than a human? Are dogs similar to humans? Do they have the same emotions as humans? Et cetera, right? So we'll look at three different cultural examples. I also have you watching a really interesting film about a dog that week. And then at the end of this week, week 3, you have the first quiz, quiz 1. Okay. The quizzes, there's 2 of them. They are going to be a combination of multiple choice and short answer based on basically the readings and lectures and things that you've done in class. Okay. Moving into week 4. In week 4, we're going to take a pause on all the sort of new material, right? Like you've been doing a lot of reading and watching lectures and etc. So we're going to stop any new material and you're going to take a beat to reflect on what you've already learned and to write your first essay, okay? So during that week 4, you're really going to focus on writing your first essay. And the subject of this first essay is what anthropology in particular as a discipline offers to the study of dogs, right? I have a few more components of the prompt, and it'll make more sense once you've read those first, 3 or 4 weeks worth of material. So you'll be working in week 4 on that essay, which we do then again at the end of the week. In week 5, we move on to a new topic. This one is really kind of shifting gears a bit in that it's really about the social management of dogs. So as you know, especially, living in a city, a fairly densely urban area, that there's all kinds of rules about dogs. Everything from dogs can't go into certain kinds of buildings, dogs need to be on leashes, and all kinds of sort of procedures and institutions for what happens when dogs are on their own, right? So this unit is about that, like the sort of the institutions and public laws and other things by which we manage dogs, particularly in densely populated places, and then what the implications are for the ethics around animals and animal rights. Because, of course, one component of the public management of dogs is, of course, the management of stray animals. And that can lead to some challenging questions about what we do or don't owe to dogs, stray dogs in particular. So we'll get into, both the sort of history of how cities manage dogs and some of the philosophy, particularly questions about the ethics around how we treat animals, non-human animals. So you'll also do a discussion in that week, which goes directly to that question. We're going to look specifically at some data about Chicago and how Chicago manages and treats stray animals. Week 6, we're going to move on to the subject of mourning dogs. If you've ever lost a pet or lost a dog in particular, you know how sort of emotionally painful that is. So in this unit, we're going to just reflect a bit on what it means to mourn the passing of a dog, how we do it or how people do it in different places. And again, it raises, I think, some sort of questions about the difference, if anything, between what it means to be a person and what it means to be an animal or a dog, right? And how we think about and enact those relationships. We often, I think, consider dogs part of the family, right? Or in some circumstances we do. So when they pass, which they inevitably do because they have much shorter lifespans than humans, how do people respond to them? And how is it culturally elaborated? So that's what we'll be reading about in this week. And then, again, you'll do a discussion on that. Week 7, we're going to be thinking about writing in particular, writing dog stories. And what you're going to read is, some of it's anthropology, but there's a couple of things also that are just attempts by authors to creatively depict the lives of dogs, right? Because I think we're sort of going into territory that's can be a little bit harder to capture, right? Trying to imagine to some extent the lives of, members of another species, right? So it calls for not only sort of reflection and analysis, but also creative ways of actually writing that stuff. So that's what we'll be working on in this week. And week 7 is also where you will do quiz 2. Again, parallel to quiz 1, multiple choice and short answer, but about the second 3 weeks of information or weeks of material. And then finally, week 8, remember this is only an 8-week class, so it goes really quick. You will be working, really focusing on Essay 2. Essay 2 is going to really build on exactly what you read about in week 7, which is writing dog stories, right? I'm going to ask you to do what I'm calling a dog biography. And again, you'll see on the handout lots more details, but I want you to try to creatively represent the life story, if you will, of a dog. It can be a dog that you know, could be a famous dog. I'm going to give you a lot of leeway on this too. This is not going to be as much about analyzing the scholarship so much as about thinking broadly about what kinds of materials are useful for telling those kinds of stories. Okay, so that will be the sort of final assignment to do on the very last day of this 8-week term, and that's where we will end. So that's the syllabus. That's the crux of the syllabus. I will, for now, leave most of these policies that come at the end to you to read on your own. Okay, but please do make a point of reading them because there's a lot of important information in here. The one that I will draw your attention to right now is the one about academic integrity. I'm sure you're all familiar to some extent with the university's policies about academic integrity, and I link you here to the university's policies about that. And those policies talk about, of course, you need to work on your own, you can't represent someone else's work as your own, etc., right? In other words, the question of integrity in your work is that you're not misrepresenting something written by someone else as your own work, right? More recently, another part of the academic integrity question is that of AI, right? We now, of course, all have access to AI programs like ChatGPT, which produce text. So what I want to underline here is that using ChatGPT or any of the other AI programs to create any part of your assignment is also a violation of academic integrity. You should not be using AI, ChatGPT, any of the other ones at all in this course, okay? So please take note of the importance of this component of the class policy, okay? All the work you do in this class needs to be your own, written by you, and really without it being written by you, it's not gonna make much sense as a course, right? The idea of the course is for you to read, listen to some stuff, and then think, reflect, do your own sort of analysis, and create your own writing that talks about those things, right? That's how we learn to get better at all those things. Analyzing information, thinking through problems, and then creating our response to those things through, effective writing. So it's really crucial that all of you do all those steps yourself in all the assignments for the course, okay? All right. So, again, please, in the next day or two, take a few minutes to more carefully go through all the stuff that's in the syllabus that I have done now. But at least now you have kind of, like an overview. So I hope you have a sense of what's coming. And I hope you're excited. I love teaching this class. I'm a cultural anthropologist by training, so I've studied lots of different kinds of things in cultural context, right? I'm really interested in how people experience their worlds and how that varies from place to place. This course really opens a whole new window on thinking about what it means to be human, in that it really suggests that to understand what it means to be human requires that we also understand what it means to be canine, right? And then we need to understand that those two ways of being have been intertwined for at least 15,000 years. So in other words, dogs helped constitute what human beings are, just as humans help constitute what dogs are. And that's a unique and special connection. And it's one, again, we don't know all the answers about that relationship, but we know some things. And it's definitely, I think, worth spending time trying to uncover and go through the layers of all the meanings that are part of human-dog relationships. Okay, well, I'm going to stop there. So that's just a quick overview. Again, read the syllabus, and starting on the first day of the semester, which is the 21st, go ahead and dig in. You can watch the first lecture, start doing the readings, etc. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to send me an email. I'm happy to answer questions. But for now, I'll say enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.